All right, y'all, welcome to week 3. Hopefully you enjoyed awareness and mindfulness. Those were critical for me in my journey, and they still are. So we're on to week 3, values and principles. There is an introduction section because just like awareness and mindfulness are interchangeable, so are values and principles. So what I did was I found a way that they worked with me the best, and I just wanted to quickly describe the difference so you'll know and there won't be any confusion, hopefully. Values are like awareness. They're the big rocks in the jar type of elements, determining what kind of values you have and who do you want to become. Again, that's going to be a repeating theme. Whereas principles are the way in which we achieve becoming and living out those values. So for me, authenticity became a huge value to me because I found myself living a imposter type of life. I didn't want people to know who I really was, and I didn't want to deal with the person I really was, and so I was someone else, which obviously led down a terrible road. And so values are very important. Principles are the way in which we achieve those values. So again, there are multiple books out there that use the terms values and principles interchangeably. This is the way they made the most sense to me. So just like awareness and mindfulness, one is a big picture and one's a day-to-day. It's the same thing with values and principles. Values are your big picture, who you want to be. Principles are the way in which you accomplish and become that. So that's the introduction section. And so let's get started on values. The way I chose these, and I had a lot of help from my counselor during that time, you come about them by reflecting on your past and your current significant challenges. And I talk about that early part of this chapter. And so it's like, what are the things I'm fighting against? What are the things I struggle with? And what is the value that's the opposite to that? And what I did was I wrote down my values, and I've got them listed in here in this chapter. But what I did was on my phone, my screensaver, my home screen, on my bathroom mirror, in my vehicle mirror, in my office, I wrote these values down. And it talks about that we look at our phone, our home screen, somewhere on average about, any guesses, around 5,000 times a day. Just let that sink in for a minute. That is a lot. If you break that down by how many hours we're awake during the day, the number of times during an hour is just astronomical. And so what you want to do is you want to make that work for you. You want to make that an asset. And what I would do was I would put my values on my home screen, and like I said, I had them written down on sticky notes everywhere. My mind, my eyes was just seeing those all the time. And what it does is it begins to reprogram the way you think. But so I don't want to get too scientific, but our minds, our brains have what they call neuroplasticity. It means your mind, your brain is malleable. It can be changed. It can be recoded, reprogrammed. We actually have more control of who we are and how we think than we believe we do. We don't have to let circumstance in life dictate to us the quality and value of our life. We can choose. We have some choice. We have some say-so in how we think. So values are very important. You want to start thinking about, do I struggle with, for me, an example, imposter syndrome? So one of my values became authenticity. I would tend to be withheld, internalized. And so one of my first values was transparency. Anytime I got the opportunity to talk about certain things about myself that normally I would suppress, I had a few people in my life that I trusted and loved, and still do, and I would talk about those things, and it just helped me. So whatever it is, that you ultimately decide. There's some examples in the chapter of how you can figure out what your values need to be. There's no set of, hey, I have to have 3, I have to have 6. It's different. I believe I started out with 4 and ended up with 6. And every year, it talks about here in the chapter, they can evolve. Your values can evolve. And it doesn't happen quickly, not in a month. It's usually, like, for instance, for me, it's been about every year I will look at my values and go, okay, am I naturally being authentic now? Or am I having to really challenge myself and keep it on my home screen? Or is it happening more on autopilot mode? So if it gets to a place where a value you've chosen a few weeks, months, year later is happening naturally, it may be that you can move that one off to the side because it's embedded into you now and take on a new one. Now what? So I know that's how it's worked well for me. For some people, they may last 3 years. I don't know. But take some time, evaluate yourself. What do I struggle with? What do I need work on? What is something that has historically and repeatedly been a big challenge for me? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? What are the things that you deal with the most, and what value can you take and correlate that would be the opposite of that you can put on all these places in your home and car, work, phone, that will help to begin reprogramming you. So we talk a lot about that in this particular chapter. And what I learned from this, from reading and from therapy, is that you don't have to have a rule for every situation and person in your life. The values, you can bounce thoughts, people, ideas, situation off of the guardrails of your values, and they will dictate to you what you should not do. Do I need to incorporate this person in my life? Does this person need to be more at a distance? Is this show that I watch, this amount of social media, this app, is it benefiting, edifying me, or is it making me feel bad? So I need to put up because I have honesty as a value, or I have positivity or edification or encouragement. Is it encouragement? If you need encouragement, the things you watch and the people you're around, very important. And we're going to get to that some later as well. So questions in the back of the chapter, answer those. If you come up with new questions or ideas that you want to write down in the thoughts section, feel free to do it. And we'll see you guys at week 4.